Section 26, HUD's Complaint Process. Today's Fair Housing Rules and Regulations, 2026 Standard. Introduction, From Complaint to Courtroom. As we move forward from Section 25, where we explored how HUD regulates fair housing and enforces the law, we now take a deeper dive into the step-by-step complaint process. This section ties everything together: violations, enforcement, and now the exact path a case follows once a complaint is filed. In 2026, every real estate professional must understand this process, because once a complaint is filed, the situation is no longer informal. It becomes structured, documented, and legally enforceable. This is where small mistakes turn into major legal issues. Step 1. Intake, where it all begins. Let's walk through a real-world situation. A tenant believes they were discriminated against and decides to take action. The process begins with intake, where anyone, an individual, or even a community group, can file a complaint with HUD at no cost. The person filing is called the complainant, and the party accused is the respondent. Complaints can be submitted by phone, mail, or online, making the process highly accessible. Once the complaint is received, a HUD intake specialist conducts an interview to gather facts and determine whether the issue falls within HUD's jurisdiction. If it does not involve housing discrimination, HUD will close the case. If it does, the process moves forward. In some cases, the complaint may be referred to a state or local agency under the Fair Housing Assistance Program, which must begin working the case within 30 days, or HUD will take it back 2026 in sight. Not every complaint moves forward, but every complaint is reviewed. Step 2. Filing, making it official. If HUD determines that the complaint falls within its authority, the next step is filing. At this stage, HUD prepares a formal complaint document, which the complainant must review, sign, and return. Once signed, the complaint becomes official. Within 10 days, HUD notifies the respondent and provides a copy of the complaint. At the same time, the complainant receives acknowledgement that the case is moving forward. The respondent then has 10 days to submit a formal answer to the allegations. This is the moment when the situation escalates from concern to legal matter. Step 3. Investigation, building the case. Once filed, HUD begins a formal investigation. This includes interviewing both parties, speaking with witnesses, reviewing documents, and even conducting site visits if necessary. HUD has significant authority during this stage. It can issue subpoenas, take depositions, and require the production of documents. This ties directly back to earlier sections. Every email, text message, advertisement, and document can become evidence. Step 4. Conciliation, the opportunity to resolve. During the investigation, HUD is required to attempt conciliation, which is a voluntary settlement process between the parties. This is similar to mediation and provides an opportunity to resolve the dispute without going to court. If both parties agree to a conciliation agreement, the case is closed. However, if the agreement is violated, HUD may recommend that the Department of Justice file a lawsuit to enforce it. 2026 strategy. Many cases are resolved here before reaching a courtroom. Step 5. No cause determination. Case closed. After completing the investigation, HUD evaluates the evidence. If HUD finds no reasonable cause to believe discrimination occurred, the case is closed. However, the complainant still has the right to pursue the matter independently by filing a lawsuit in federal court. This means that even when HUD closes a case, the legal risk may not be over Step 6, cause determination and charge. If HUD finds reasonable cause, the process escalates significantly. HUD will issue a formal charge of discrimination against the respondent. At this point, the case moves into a legal phase, and both parties must decide how they want to proceed, either through an administrative hearing or in federal court. Step 7. Federal court, DOJ involvement. If either party chooses to go to federal court, the U.S. Department of Justice will file a civil lawsuit on behalf of the complainant within 30 days. If the court finds that discrimination occurred, it may award actual damages, punitive damages, attorney's fees. This is one of the most serious outcomes in the process. Step 8. Administrative hearing, ALJ. If neither party elects federal court, the case is heard by a HUD administrative law judge, ALJ. A HUD attorney represents the complainant, and the ALJ reviews the evidence and issues a decision. If a violation is found, the ALJ may impose civil penalties up to $16,000 per violation for a first offense, actual damages, injunctive relief, attorney's fees, After the decision, parties have the right to appeal, and the Secretary of HUD may review or modify the outcome. The pattern: how cases move through the system. At this point, the full process becomes clear. A complaint moves through intake, filing, investigation, conciliation, determination, legal action. At every stage, there are opportunities to resolve the issue, but also increasing levels of risk. This connects directly back to everything you've learned. Section 3. How discrimination occurs. Section 15 and 16. How violations begin. Section 19. What constitutes a violation. Section 25. HUD's enforcement role. Section 26. The full legal process. Bringing it all together, the 2026 professional mindset. Understanding HUD's complaint process is not just about avoiding trouble, it's about being prepared. As a real estate professional, you must recognize situations that could lead to complaints. Document your actions carefully. Respond appropriately if a complaint arises. Seek resolution early when possible. Because once a complaint enters this system, it becomes structured, documented, and enforceable. And the outcome can affect your business, your finances, and your license. The takeaway is simple. The best way to handle a HUD complaint is to prevent it from happening in the first place. Online discussion, question 1. Who can file a fair housing complaint with HUD? Answer: anyone, including individuals and community groups, at no cost. Question 2. What is the purpose of conciliation in the complaint process? Answer: to allow both parties to voluntarily resolve the dispute before it proceeds to a legal hearing or court. Question 3. What happens if HUD finds reasonable cause? Answer: HUD issues a charge of discrimination, and the case proceeds to either an administrative hearing or federal court.